Good day, good day, good day, good day.
Day.
Oh, there she is. There she is. Please don't start. Today we're only giving them 1 more minute. Give people 1 more minute. We have to hit the ground running today. Today we are
Awesome.
hot things, current affairs. Yes? So yeah.
So, Mr. Dlali, according to my understanding, you're saying that we can start right away, or must we still give people a minute to join in?
Just maybe one more minute. 1 more minute.
No problem.
Christmas trees already done because of me. There's
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us once again today. That our regulars have joined us today. We're so glad to have you with us. So I wanted to just make you aware that we normally just give people a couple of minutes to join. So great to have you with us. Do you know that we have been having these webinars for 18 weeks now? So it's really been amazing to have you and to just share knowledge with you in this platform. And we just want to once again thank everyone who has been joining us consistently, and to thank everyone who has been going to our YouTube channel to just go and view and catch up on the previous webinars that we've had. I wanted to ask the people who are here, because today is our second last week of having these webinars. So I just want to ask you, how have the webinars been? Have you learned something new? Has something been clarified in the previous 18 weeks of us having these shows? What's your general view? Please put on your videos if you don't mind, or just switch on your mic and just communicate with me to let me know how you've been finding our webinars. I see David. Hello, Mr. Van der Merwe. So great to have you with us. I see Mr. Chico, as always. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. I see Tlulu, I see Precious. Welcome to you. I see Ella. Welcome to you. Thank you for joining us. So, how have you guys been finding these sessions in the previous 18 weeks?
Thought-provoking. I wasn't aware of how banks kind of operate. I kind of had a myth to how they operate.
Mm-hmm.
To my shocker, I thought that a personal loan was boosting your credit score, but I had no idea that it was a ripoff in the process. Those are one of the few things that kind of frightened me with how this whole system works. But then I learned quite a lot, and I'm very grateful for these webinars.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Am I saying your name right by calling you Chico?
It's Chico too. It's a name and a surname.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay. So how should I say it, please?
Like the Chi, then Kotu. Yeah.
Oh, Chi Kotu. So the name is Chi and surname Kotu.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. All right. Is there someone else who would like to let us know how they've been finding these webinars so far? I just want to also welcome you there on Facebook Live. Yay, we are finally here. Sorry, again, last week we had technical glitches and we could not air on Facebook Live yesterday. But I hope that you have went to our YouTube to catch up with the previous session that we did have last week. Is there anyone who would like to say something? Otherwise, the time is now 12:37, and I think we can, if there's no other comment, we can allow Mr. Tlali to start with today's session. Okay, there's nothing for now. I'm gonna go to Facebook to check if no one has commented, but if you're there on Facebook, please let us know. How have you been finding the previous 18 weeks, and have they been helpful? What is it that stood out for you? I like Mr. Chi's comment. He just said that he didn't know that when you take a personal loan, you actually not helping your credit score. And he used to think that it was actually the opposite. But through these sessions, he's learned that that's not the case at all. And there's a lot of processes that are involved when it comes to banks that are not necessarily always benefiting you. But let's just remember that, I mean, I suppose the banks do have to make their own money, as Mr. Tlali likes to say. The banks do have to make their own money somewhere. However, which is something that Mr. Tlali has also said previously, perhaps sometimes it would be beneficial that we open our own banks so that we can adjust and tweak a few things, especially where we have seen that it's not always that some people are not favored as compared to others when it comes to loan applications and things like that. And it is a fact, and not a good one, but it is a fact. So without wasting time, I want to give over to Mr. Tlali. Please note that I'll be reading your comments as we go. There'll be sessions in between his presentation where we can engage. You can write out your comment right away, or you can just ask your question as we go. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Tlali.
All right, thank you. I've been ready, like a horse in bridle, ready to run. These last 2 weeks, it is the last 2 weeks, unfortunately. However, fortunately, it's not the end. The journey continues. Beyond the 2 weeks, we will continue to engage. We might come up with something different, but we have also had to realize and understand that activities have basically gone back to normal. So we kept our promise that during the lockdown, when everybody's at home, we'll keep empowering you. And lesser people are then available or able to join us for the live thingy, for the live webinar. We've also been receiving feedback a lot. We love feedback, so if you would like to give us some more feedback, please do. That some people are not able to join in every time because of internet connectivity, they're at work, sometimes data. So we are then going to create shorter videos that we are going to load. So please be on the lookout on all our social media platforms. We will then be making shorter videos that we're going to load that are just going to be dealing with one thing, maybe 5-10 minutes. It deals with one subject, straight to the point, or elaborate as much as we can in that short space, just to make sure that you understand it properly all the time. So that you make sure you don't miss out, please go and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not done so, YDT Group, and like our Facebook page, YDT Group. Follow us on Instagram. Sam will say all those things and things, YDT Group SA, and Twitter, so that you can see. We'll load them everywhere. And in our website as well, we have launched our website. We are also taking reviews, comments, because we are making it easier and the best to work with, so that you can find any information about property that you need at any given time, at your convenience. So we are loading you with information, but not just for you to know, but for you to act and do something to add value into your life. Okay, so these 2 weeks, we're not going to be too strict about trying to finish quicker, earlier, too early than 1:30. We'll still stick to 1:30, but not to finish earlier, because we just want to close off the live webinars. And like I said at the beginning, at the end of the live ones, we're not sure what's going to happen next. So follow the information as much as you can while you can. This information is extremely valuable. It is worth a whole lot of money. So we are just empowering you now and letting everybody learn and understand certain things that is not made easily available. And I'm sure those who've been following us for a while, you would attest that the things we share here, most of the things, I would actually even go as far as saying you've never had them being shared before in the manner that we did. And there's some of them have been deliberately kept away from you. Because, of course, what you don't know, people will loosely throw the term that what you don't know won't hurt you. When it comes to growing wealth and business, what you don't know does really hurt you. So we are getting rid of that hate, breaking every boundary, breaking every stereotype, making people angry. They will be glad one day that we are empowering people that want to do something. Okay, now straight to it. Today's discussion is basically about empowering you to continue. That's what I've called it, empowering you to continue. Empowering you to continue beyond this on your own. Empowering to continue to analyze the markets. Empowering you to continue. When I say on your own, I'm definitely not even trying to say that we are saying continue without us. We will still be here for you, like I said earlier on. All the way, we are just stopping the live video. So we are empowering you to can be able to do certain things without us, or be able just to know things, because the whole point of these webinars is just for you to be empowered, to have information, know what to do, at least have the basics, so that when you've made a decision or you need to make a decision, you consult us as professionals will guide you further. Now we are again going to the basics of empowering you, interpreting the market. We've done this 4 slides every week for the past 6, 7, 8 weeks. So I'm going to dive a little bit in, and I will even say, why are we doing that? Why are we empowering you to learn about these things? Why do we want you to know that specific information? All right, starting with this one. We know this slide. Remember this picture. Some people have been even dreaming about it for so long. It was like, that picture comes again. Remember this. Okay, these are the factors that influence the market. These factors influence the market all the time. They were just blown up now during the current pandemics, COVID-19 pandemic period, because they are all being affected, or they are all in activity or in action at the same time. So the first factor that influences the market is the interest rate. Interest rate influences the market because the banks, or you, it determines your affordability. What the banks do when they approve you for a home loan, they approve you on 2 levels, and then they approve the property you are buying as well on different levels. So they approve you first on your credit score and credit record. So just to say that, okay, this person we can work with. Once you've passed that level of approval, then they go to the next level of approval, which is they approve you in terms of affordability. Can you afford to pay this installment that is there? The NCR clearly states that from your gross income, you can only use up to 30% of your income towards the payment of your home loan. So that's where they start to use affordability. Now, the interest rate, of course, the higher it is, the more you pay per month for the same property. The lower it is, like now, it's been a long time since we've enjoyed this low, then the lesser you pay. So it does affect your affordability, because with that NCR, law, it also states that you need to have a certain amount left behind in your monthly expenses after paying the possible installment for a new home loan, so that you can be able to live, you can be able to, should I say, when the interest rates adjust, you are able to move with adjustments without having to starve at the end of the month. So that's why it is a very important factor. The second factor is trade. We started with the lockdown on the screen to say trade/lockdown because lockdown has affected the trade currently a lot. It's been the main factor influencing trade. But when there's no lockdown, the trade influences the market. Trade meaning the people that are buying and the people that are selling, who is transacting with who and why. And the more there's transaction, the healthier the movement, the more the people that have sold can buy other properties, the ones that have bought can be able to move on. So it creates what would even be called market activity, healthy market activity. So when people are now transacting, buying and selling, doing this, renting out, so that also affects the market. Because if there is not good enough trade, then it puts pressure on the sellers or on the buyers if the activity is on the other way around. If there's too much activity, then it gives the sellers upper hand, then the buyers have a lower hand. Because now, if there's too many people buying, it means now the seller has got 2 or 3, 5 more people that are interested in the same property. Therefore, I'm not interested, nor am I willing to just drop my price. However, if then there is lesser activity, then that means the sellers are under pressure because there's fewer buyers to buy the properties. So therefore, the buyers have got an upper hand. Then it becomes a buyer's market. And we already said in the previous webinars, please follow it up, where we shared the slides, the statistics of the people that own property, to say that generally South Africa, in general, it is generally a buyer's market because generally there's more properties on the market than people buying them. So meaning that when you are buying, you have 3 to 6 more properties to choose from. So you are the one who has a choice. It becomes a buyer's market when you as a buyer have more choices to choose from. So that's what we meant. And then the economy itself. Now the economy, how it affects or influences the market is that it decides the ability for people to buy, for people to trade. Because if the economy is not active or the economy is not doing well, that means then people are not earning, they are not earning enough money, or lesser people are earning money, meaning then there are less people to buy as well, and it affects the market. Then lastly, and the most powerful, is estate agents. When I say the most powerful, I mean it is because it is the one that, I'm trying to find the right word so that it doesn't sound politically wrong. The estate agents have got the ability to manipulate the market or to control the market. I think that would be a better word. To control the market in a sense that they are able to advise the seller and the buyer, regardless of the activity of the market. They are able to advise, so therefore that means then whatever happens in whatever market we are in is greatly influenced by the estate agents. When the lockdown was at level 5, that was a classic example. Estate agents were not allowed to move around. Nor were many people allowed to move around. I think even at level 4, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, even at level 4, they're not allowed to move around. But transactions were happening between individuals that were not including estate agents. Now those transactions were going proper, they were going ahead, and people were getting bargains and whatnot. It came the 1st of June, estate agents came to protect. So their role is, it's not as bad as people put it out to be, to say, I don't want an agent in my property. No, you need a professional, whether you are buying or you are selling, because you need to know that they've checked everything on the property that you are buying. And as a seller, you need to know that you are being protected to get as much money as you can get. So that's what gives them, their role gives them the authority to be able to control the market. Now, how is that market then now, based on those factors that influence it? Remember, again, this slide is that the economy was expected at the beginning of the, or rather during the lockdown level 4, to contract by 7.3%, meaning it was expected to shrink. When the economy grows, there are more jobs, the economy is healthy, everybody gets a job, everything is, people earn more, companies make money, then they pay more for people, so things are better. Now, the economy, as I previously said, in the last 2-3 years has been growing by between 2 and 3.5% at most a year. Now, this year was expected to decrease by 7.3%. That's basically equivalent to 2 to 3 years of the previous year's growth. That is taking us back by 3 years. However, as it stands now,
please note that our calls are also being recorded.
It has already decreased as it stands now. It has already decreased, or rather contracted with 7.3% already. It has already contracted, and it is expected to possibly contract or shrink by as far as 10%. That is what is expected the economy to shrink by. That will take us, the economists at the beginning, they said 2 to 3 years. Now it's starting to look like 4 to 5 years. That is going to take us to rebuild the economy to get back where it is. I'll explain later what that means then. And then the interest rate is now 7%. Like I said, the lowest it has been in about 5 decades. And at the beginning of the year, it was at 9.7.5%. That it was at the beginning of the year. Sorry for that distraction. We'll find out what that is. Siamo, please, we'll deal with it and we'll remove the person that is distracting, please. Please remember to switch off your mics. We need to be sure that it is not the people that hack. We were hacked once, so we are careful now. Once there's an uncommon movement, then we immediately remove the person. All right, so, and then the repo rate is now 3.5%, the same as interest rate, the lowest it has been in almost 5 decades, and it was 6.5 at the beginning of the year. Again, the difference, what's a repo rate, what's an interest rate? The banks borrow the money from South African Reserve Bank to borrow it to you and me. They use the money that you and me have deposited in their accounts to go to the Reserve Bank and say, we've got so much money, please borrow us money against this. Now, the South African Reserve Bank charges the banks an interest for the money that they lend out to them. And that interest is what is called a repo rate. So currently it's standing at 6.5%. And then the interest rate is what then is the recommended rate that the banks can charge us. So it's a base rate. And then they say, because of your credit record, you are charged this amount plus, they would call it prime rate. So you are charged prime plus whatnot, or your credit record is good, you are charged prime minus. So that's how it is now. And then the trade currently, after the lockdown, we still are in lockdown level 2, but we all of us can tell, we feel so free right now. It's like everything has gone back, has gone back to normal in terms of activity. So the current trade right now is extremely super active. It is super active. I'll just give an example of the sales recently. I'm always on the ground, ears on the ground to get the information of what's happening in the market. There is one agency just in Bloemfontein alone that in a month and a half, or rather from the 1st of June until to date, they've sold almost 150 houses. One city, one agency. That is not normal. That hardly ever happens. On average, estate agents sell between 1 and 3 properties a month, and that is a committed active agent. Now, of course, other agents sell lesser than that, but to sell almost 150 properties in just 2.5 months, it is it is insanely crazy, the activity right now. And we are advising some of our clients, most of the ones that are buying cash, to hold up a little bit, because once that is the case, it means then the market is shifting strongly to becoming the seller's market. You understand? I advised last week that if you've got a property that you need to offload right now, this is the best time to offload. Because later on, when the interest rates start to go up and the market starts to really take a serious downturn, there will be lesser buyers, there will be way less activity. You might end up being stuck with a property. All right, yes, the city agents are back. The banks are seriously active right now. they are smiling all the way because they are just getting all the sales, they're getting all these home loans approved. Their books are increasing, things are looking good for them. And then the market right now, it said it's a seriously open market right now. No one can easily tell whose market it is. But like I said, it is shifting now, starting to shift to be more of a seller's market than it is. And this is not for all properties, of course. The moment you hit 1 million, 1.5, the higher you go, the lesser it is a seller's market, or the less the activity still is even now. Because the people that normally buy in that price range are the ones who stand to lose a lot when the market takes a downturn. So they're playing it safe and they're waiting it out so that they see what the market does. Okay, now and then you really need to be more educated right now. That's why we were doing this, more educated. We'll continue, like I said, when we stop the webinars, we'll continue the videos so that you remain more educated. Google is not good enough. It's good, it gives you the information, but it doesn't give you the guidance. So which is what you need, which is what an active professional can do. It's close to you, and we can do that for you happily at YDT. We all understand the day one asset. I'm sure by now we can even think and sing it. I mean, even when we talk to people now, they already have assessed, those that have bought have been assessing that they bought which assets they buy wrong and whatnot. And last week we addressed how we can rectify those as well. We can assist you to rectify and reverse certain transactions that were not good that you did. Some might take time, some might be immediate. So a day one asset is the best property you need to buy. What is a day one asset? We defined it in the first 2 or 3 webinars. We're just focusing it for everybody to understand what's a day one asset. But like I said, today we are just focusing on making sure you understand everything so you can continue on your own. There was a big debate, is a property an asset or a liability? The professionals like attorneys and accountants, based on what they need to do in the books, they call every property as an asset. People like me and you who are looking to invest in property, to grow wealth and to do all those things, a property is not automatically an asset. It can be automatically an investment if taken care of, but it is a liability if it is not giving you income. Now, it becomes an asset when it gives you more income than what you are spending on it, because it is making you money. It is giving you profits. So it becomes an asset. So there it is. From day one, you are making profit. It was a right purchase. What do we mean by being a right purchase? It's a combination of all the points combined together. And to summarize it, it simply means if you were to sell the property the following day, whether the following day you bought it or tomorrow if you've been owning it for a while, if you were to sell your property the following day, you would make money. You would not make a loss. You would make a profit. Then that's a right purchase. Is it the right location? Sometimes a location does not, it can be confusing when it comes to investors when they buy. I'll make an example. I think I made it about a week or 2 again, just for everybody to understand, because today I want everyone to understand so that they can be able to, you can be able to assess the market on your own. There's a property in one of the towns in the Free State that we were getting ready to buy for my clients. And I went to have a look at the property. We were assessing. I mean, the property is up in the market for, it's a very small town, for 320,000. And the income there could be between 5,500 to 6,500. So normally, when you look at investment versus income, that would be a good investment. To only spend 320,000 and get 6,000 rands a month as income, that is a good, very good investment. However, because of the location, it would not immediately be a day one asset. It would be a day one asset in terms of income, but it wouldn't be a day one asset in terms of should a need arise for whatever reason for the clients to sell. The property would take very long to sell, number one. And number two, they would have to drop the price, meaning if they were to sell the following day, chances are they would sell at lower the price than they bought. Though it's a good investment in terms of income. But then I said, no, let's not take the deal, because then if you were that situation were to happen, we don't know what happens in life, and that forces us to sell sometimes, or sometimes you have a better investment opportunity and we want to liquidate what you already have. So we didn't take it. But my objective was, or advice was that let's drop it. Let's drop it to even 250 or even below, because then you are then safe. You are full day one asset that you have bought. It will, of course, the lower you buy, the income does not drop. So that means you will now be maximizing by far on income. So that's the example we mean by location. And then the right price, of course, we just compare what you are spending against what it costs or what the value is. Now, we've also been advising that if you are preferring to buy the property and you're not getting a good bargain, then at least buy 10% below value. And the reason for that 10%, we just made simple calculations to say the cost that you incur in obtaining or transferring a property in your names are averaging about 7 to 12%, depending on the price and if there's transfer duty involved. So when you buy 10% less, that means then if you were to sell tomorrow, you can sell at value and recover what you bought it for and the other monies that you spent on the property. Of course, that information you will not easily get anywhere. Come to IDT, we will sort you out. Thank you, T. Over to you.
Sorry, I was muted there. I was saying that I like your end statement. Come to IDT, we will sort you out. Okay, Mr. Dlali, I wanted to ask you, does this mean that we have broken another record, or you just took a pause there?
No, it's a pause. No, it's a pause. Oh, it's a pause. We've got another win. The next slides will be attending to the current affairs, the current and the recent affairs, yes.
Noted. All right, welcome everyone. Welcome once again to those who just joined us now, as the presentation had already started. Please remember that you are welcome to ask your question at any point, and in a session like this, we allow for question and answers to come through. You can ask your question through raising your hand, or you can just write it out on the comment section, and I'm gonna allow you time to do so while I read the comment that I saw earlier from David. Mr. David is saying today, let me just look at it quickly. He said, these sessions are great. Thank you for educating and empowering so many people. Mr. Dlali, that is to you about our webinars. All right, is there someone who would like to ask a question? I see there's a person who unmuted themselves, and I just wanted to find out if it's because they want to ask a question. You're welcome to go right ahead and ask Mr. Dlali your question. All right, while that person comes in, I just want to read a question now from Facebook Live. We have a question from Tabiso. Mr. Dlali, I hope you remember Tabiso from two weeks ago.
Yes.
Yes, he's asking, is it advisable to freeze a house bond interest rates?
Okay.
And then a follow-up question is, what is the impact of freezing your house bond?
All right. I think for the sake of time, let's only take that question now. We'll take others as they come in, we'll take them at the end.
Definitely.
What we discussed this, Mr. Tabiso, in serious detail. I think we almost did a webinar on it. But I'm going to answer. Please do go and watch this, the previous webinar. It is definitely going to assist you a lot. Yes, we recommend that, mostly during this time. Now, the impact thereof is only positive for you. It's only positive for you, and it depends on how you use it. Now, what we had previously said and advised was that let's wait out a little bit before freezing or locking the interest rate that you are currently being charged. Of course, I would recommend everybody at some point to lock it. You can lock it between 1.5 years up to 3 years, depending on the institution that gave you the financing. Now, what happens is for that period, when whether interest rates go up or down, yours remains the same. Now, this market is pretty much more, should I say, predictable what's going to happen eventually. eventually the interest rates are going to go up. Right now, Reserve Bank and the government, they have dropped them to create activity in the market. And boy, have they succeeded on it. It is, like I just said, shared the figures earlier on. It is doing wonders. Not only property, everywhere there is serious activity, which again, I just want to caution and advise everybody, please don't go out spending now. Don't be a consumer, be an investor. So whatever access you get extra on credit at this point in time, use it to make money for you. So that when the tough times come ahead, then you are well prepared. Now, in terms of people freezing, I had said, let's wait out a little bit. There is a possible one more, it's possible, we're not sure yet. There is a possible one more drop of the interest rate before it starts to pick up. And when it picks up, it's not going to move from 7% to 9 or 10% in one day. It's going to gradually increase as well. So the moment it starts to increase, then you start to lock it. Then you lock it. When you lock it, it will increase for everybody else. Yours will be safe. Your income will still be the same. Then when you lock it for 2 years, in the next 2 years, your income will be increasing by 10%. Everybody knows their rent increases by 10%, but your expenses will be remaining the same. That will give you a head start to can be able to build further during that 2-year period with the extra money or advantage that you have that other people don't have. So I hope that answers your question, Mr. Tapiso. But because it is there on Facebook, and like I said to Tiamo, we'll take other questions afterwards. You can just, if he makes a follow-up question again, please hold it on, we'll do it at the end. I would like to continue. I'm just concerned about the time to present, so that if we go beyond 1/2 then we know we're done with presentation. It's only those people that are interested to remain. Okay, now, coming back to the presentation. Now, the further developments. And these developments are happening so perfectly for us, for the webinars. Not so good for everybody in general, but to give us scenarios to share this information with you. Because we are not just giving scenarios out of the head where you must imagine. The scenarios we are making, you are living in them. So you are living in definitely interesting times, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the first thing that happened was the state of disaster being extended. Now, the country was declared in a state of disaster, lest there was lockdown, lest there was monies that could be borrowed, lest all these other things. On the 15th of August, DAPS, when People Zol, extended the state of disaster for a month, up until the 15th of September. Now, what does then that mean, this 1 month extension? It means, of course, we extended with 1 month, and it means financial support for the support that was declared from the 500 billion and the 70-something odd billion as well. So that means those continue. Now, that means then the laws protecting the consumers have also been extended. What laws am I referring to in this instance? Because we're talking, this is a property webinar. The laws that are there that have been protecting a consumer, number one, is the eviction orders. Eviction orders are not being granted. Only special conditions that must sit in front of High Court and special things, and it's a whole court process that can be granted. As it stands today, you cannot be evicted from any property lawfully or legally. Of course, certain people doesn't stop them from doing it illegally, coming and throwing you out and whatnot, but legally you are still safe for another year if you are in trouble and you're scared of being evicted. Also, what then that means is the financial institutions, if you have lost your job and you have not been able to pay your home loan every month, they cannot repossess your property right now. Because in repossessing, that means they have to initiate the process of attaching and selling your property at an auction or in any other platform, and that will ultimately mean being evicted, which is not allowed. So right now, as it stands today, even if you owe 10, 15, 20 months into your home loan, I'm not encouraging you not to pay. If you can, please pay your debts, please. Even if you owe 10, 15 months, they can't take any legal actions as it stands now. They can push the paper so that when the doors finally open, the steps are going to go faster. Things like giving you a letter of demand, things like giving you notices, all those things they can do in the meantime, but most of them are not taking any steps because they also do not want to just take properties that they are not sure they'll be able to sell in any other platform later. So the banks are wise, they've been around for longer, so they're waiting it out. Very few people are getting scares from the banks against their properties. Now, the last point on the disaster, it means it has delayed the inevitable. The inevitable has been delayed. Now, you can then decide whether to live in agony if you are not in a good position, or you can decide to prepare, to take this opportunity as time for you to help you to bounce back. Bounce back, fight, do what you need to do. Meanwhile, the law is currently on your side. That's what this disaster extension means. So it's not all bad for everybody that the state of disaster has been extended to the 15th of September. No, it's not. However, we know it is just delaying the inevitable. So you've got a breather and a space to do something about it if you need assistance during this time. And then there's the new latest one that just went over last night about Experian, or rather yesterday, about Experian or fraudsters accessing information for 24 million South Africans. Experian is a credit bureau amongst many others in South Africa, but the top others, there's TransUnion, there's and others. Let me just put it like this. So for the sake of sticking to the point for the day, Experian, what brings the impact, which we will touch now on point 4, let me not get ahead of myself, the eligibility of these claims. English almost ran away. Eligibility of these claims, are they really eligible? Yes, they are. Been confirmed by the banks, been confirmed by Experian themselves to say that, yes, information was stolen or handed over to fraudsters. Chances are, of course, there are things they're still investigating, but if fraudsters did not crack into the system, that simply means somebody gave the information over. Now, the Experian's response, they are saying, the people did not get hold of your ID numbers. They only got hold of your names and your addresses. Now, that's even debatable. That's debatable. That's a different point altogether because they still got the information. Now, the information, you and me are possibly impacted. And here's the thing. The people that are active on credit bureaus are the people that are working. So that could mean it's a big chunk of the workforce that is being affected. You and me. They will not have the guts to tell you. It is you, Yabela. It is you, so and so, that has been affected by the information that was shared. Because, of course, they don't want to create scares. They don't want to leave room for lawsuits and all those things, which are inevitably going to happen for them in any case at some point. So the impact on that and on the market is that then there might be a false activity in the market. Because you remember when people do identity theft, then they open accounts, they open personal loans, you get married at Home Affairs, there's so many things that happens. And I would like right now to encourage all of us, please protect your information. Don't give out any information to anyone unnecessarily. And if it's people that you cannot trust, which becomes very tricky because now we are in a serious peak of the fourth industrial revolution era, where most of the things are done online, where you're expecting to get a call at some point to verify the things, and the call might be from a fraudster. So you need to know what information to give, what not to give. If a person calls you, and previously I would say, let them confirm your ID number. But now it could possibly have been leaked. So you cannot now be confirming the ID number. You would need to, I would say, only work with institutions that are registered and verified with the authoritative bodies. If it's an estate agent, work through the Estate Agency Affairs Board. Check, is the company registered? If it is a financial service provider, check, are they registered with previously called FSB, now Financial Sector Conduct Authority, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth. So you need to verify the people you're going to work with now up until there's a clear direction of this being resolved. There is a policy that is in place that all accountable institutions, meaning accountants, card dealers, financial planners, lawyers, and many professionals, that is binding them, which is a POPI Act, which is protection of people's information. So that act still is applicable. So when you want to question people further, you should not be ashamed of doing so, because you do not know if you are dealing with eligible people or not. So if you're on the other side, you're an agent or you are a company that when people start to question you, they are not, at this point in time, they're just taking extra precautions. So let's put sensitivity aside. Let's deal with the issue at hand and make sure we all are safe and protected all the way. So this is how, ladies and gentlemen, you deal with issues and current affairs that keep going. Like I said earlier on, you now need to be more educated than ever, because there's a lot that is happening. There's a lot of changes. And when people predict this, things take a different turn. People are so sure that lockdown is going to end, and then it doesn't end. And then people are angry at Madam Wayne Peoples-Hall, because now she has given us another 1 more month of state of disaster. We still don't know what's going to happen after that. So there is a lot of movements of navigating around situations that are new to almost everyone. And professionals in that industry have an upper hand. They might not know everything else well, but they've got an upper hand because they have experience on certain things already. Thank you, Madam T. This is where I stop. Then we can have a discussion. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Tlali. The time is now 13:18, so you did finish your presentation on time today, which allowed 12 minutes for people to ask questions until 1:30. Right, we have a question now from Smangele. Welcome, Smangele, once again, and thank you for your question. Smangele is asking, hi, I want to turn a 12,000 square meter property into a multi-let, meaning she wants to build rooms. Do you know where I can get funds to build? Unfortunately, she says that she has a bad credit score right now and she has no income.
Look, I think in answering that, there is no straightforward, definite answer. It would have to be a serious discussion, and after answering now, I'm almost certain she's going to have another follow-up up to the 4th level. So just to avoid a dialogue and giving other people an opportunity, I would just answer and say it will depend on what is your objective to do with the land, or rather with those rooms. Are you building rooms? Of course, you're saying you want to let. How many rooms? What type of property are you planning to do there? You can either partner with already a developer or an investor that has the funds to work with you, because in such setups, if the land is that big, normally it falls under commercial property, where now in commercial property, most evaluations are not done on your person. They are mostly done on the project. The project must make sense. It's not like a house. A house, you are paying for it from your income. So they must check your credit score. But such a development, the income is not going to be paid, or rather the money is not going to be paid back by you personally. It's going to be paid back by the income that is generated by the property. So they then they do a due diligence on the development itself, on the property itself. I would like to engage with you, Smangele. Please get the details so that we can engage this offline. We are also property developers as well, so we can engage this properly offline as what can happen and what's the best way forward.
All right, Smangele, please just send me your contact details privately. Right. We don't have any follow-up question. However, if anyone wants to ask a question, you are more than welcome to just switch on your mic and ask Mr. Facebook right now. And isn't any question there, and Tabiso had said that he is going to be driving, but he will come back.
I'm checking on Instagram as well in the meantime, just to see if there are any questions.
Thank you.
I was rushing myself, thinking that there are questions waiting. But nonetheless, let's go. There are no questions on Instagram, there's just comments. Yes, you can go right ahead.
Mr. Tlali, we have a comment on Facebook. We have Morakane saying thank you for the presentation. So thank you very much, Morakane, for watching. We also have have a comment. It's a question actually from David here on Zoom. David is saying, do some banks finance you in such a way that they will include your transfer costs? Can you also define what transfer duties are? Because apparently if the property is less than $1 million, you do not pay transfer duties, but is that only a portion of your transfer costs?
Okay. Thank you, David, for that question. It's very valid. It is also very relevant for today because at least people will understand going forward. We have also addressed it and spent half a webinar previously. So I will be answering only your question, but for people to dig deeper into it, they can just go back to our archives or to our videos in our YouTube channel. A transfer duty. Okay, let me explain the 3 different fees that you pay, or that you could pay when you are the purchaser, or who pays them. Now, there are different parties involved in the transfer process. It can get up to 3 attorneys and 4 different types of payments. Now, I'll make a quick example. Let's say I am now buying a property from you, Mr. David. You had a home loan in that property with Bank X. Now you are selling the property to me, which you can. Then that loan was attached to the house that you had with Bank X through a process called a bond. And that process was done by attorneys because it's a legal process. And you had paid those attorneys when you were buying the property. Now you want to sell the property. Bank X, the reason they attached that home loan to the house, they wanted to make sure that when you do sell your home, you do not sell it in a way that they do not get their money. So they wanted to make sure that when you sell it, they get all their money that you owe them first. As to how much you sell it for and how much you make, you don't make, that's not relevant to them. They just want to get back what they gave you or what you still owe them. Now, when you are then selling to me, the bank appoints bond cancellation attorneys. The bond cancellation attorneys, their purpose is to remove that attachment, just like it was attorneys that did it. Most of the time, the bank appoints the same attorneys who did the attachment to remove it. That's why they are called bond cancellation attorneys. Now, those attorneys are paid by you as the seller because they are removing your bond that you wanted to put against your property. So you pay for that. That's attorney 1, that's cost 1. But that cost is paid by you as the seller. And then attorney 2 is the attorney that is then going to change the names from Mr. David to Yabela. That attorney then is called a transferring attorney because they are transferring the property ownership from you to me. That is generally the central attorney in the whole transaction. Everybody depends and communicates with this attorney because that is the main role player in the transaction because they are the ones who are changing ownership. Everything else around changing ownership revolves around them. Now that attorney gets paid. They call those cost transfer fees because they are doing a transfer of the property. The cost for that attorney is carried or paid for by the purchaser because it is the purchaser who is saying, I want my names to be registered in that property. Therefore, you pay for it. The interesting part is these attorneys are not chosen by the bank. The person who has a legal right to choose them is the seller. Now, many debates for years came about to say, how can a seller choose a transferring attorney but is paid for by the purchaser? The conclusion is simple, straightforward, and understandable because the seller is the one who owns the property. So therefore, the seller is the one who should remain in control of their own property because they need to protect their own property. So they must choose an attorney that they are comfortable with, that they are certain that they will protect their interests in just doing the transfer. And then the third attorney is the attorney that is now doing what your attorney was removing, is the one who's registering a bond for my new home loan that I was approved for so that I can buy your property. This attorney is appointed by the bank, just like the previous one for you, to now register the home loan against the property to create a bond, that attachment, to make sure that when I later on want to sell, I pay them their money in full and the thing goes on. Of course, they are registering my home loan, not yours as the seller. So I'm responsible for that. So that then means out of the 3 attorneys, 1 is paid by the seller, 2 are paid for by the purchaser. And then lastly, the transfer duty itself. Transfer duty is a tax that is payable on property. There's different types of taxes that are payable on property. There's rates and taxes by I almost said Mangaung. I forgot we are now have a worldwide audience. So by the local authorities. So there's also other tax, capital gains tax, many other taxes, but the one that is always applicable is the transfer duty. Now, every year you are correct. Every year during a budget speech, the minister stands of finance there and speak, and all of us who are in the property thing, the main thing we want to hear is how much is the roof for transfer duty? When do you start paying transfer duty? So for the past 7-8 years, they've been increasing the amount that is transfer duty free, meaning you are not supposed to pay transfer duty. However, that must be still confirmed by SARS. So currently, the amount is standing at 1 million rand on the dot. If the property you are purchasing is 1 million on the dot or below, you are then not liable to pay a transfer duty, because then it is within what has been exempted by SARS already. 1,001 rand, or 1 cent for that matter, you start paying transfer duty on a sliding scale. When we did that webinar, we even showed the table that SARS uses to calculate that scale. Now, the transferring attorney, who is the central person, has to submit that transaction to SARS. For SARS to say, or for SARS rather, to issue a transfer duty certificate. Whether the certificate is exempting you because the property is below 1 million, or then the transfer duty is payable, and then you get the certificate after it's being paid. So that is how these things work. All of them come to play. The transfer duty, the transferring fees for the attorney, the bond registration fees. So as a purchaser, you pay those 3 fees. And those are the 3 fees that I was referring to when I was saying when you buy at the right price, you buy 10% below, to accommodate these fees. So that if you were to sell the property tomorrow, let's say that property is worth 1 million and you only bought for 900 and you want to sell the following day, you can still put it up for 1 million because you had bought for 900 and the cost that you spent on the transfer will be included. You will get them back with your 1 million. And that's the basic logic that we work with it. It is very simple and straightforward how we recommend things to be done. I hope that answers Mr. David. If he's got a follow-up question, please feel free, sir.
All right, thank you. Mr. David, I'm going to ask you to please indicate in the message box if you have a follow-up question, and we'll run back to you, because we have also Shuluhelo, who has had her hand up. I'm also noticing that Lunga has been switching on their mic. I'm not sure if they wish to ask a question as well, but for now, let's please take Ms. Shuluhelo.
Okay, please.
Thank you very much for this insightful information. I realize that I actually have lots more questions. I'm definitely going to consult you. I'm definitely going to have to come. But I'm just interested in maybe the 2 questions that I may ask now. Regarding the, I like the fact that you said you can consider looking at property when you want to purchase, you can try to consider for a property that's 10% at a 10% lesser rate. If it's not at the right location, I suppose that's what you were referring to. But now I want to know, in terms of requiring a loan from the bank, is it Okay, I don't know whether the bank can provide accommodation for transfer fees as well, or one would have to, if you don't have money for transfer fees, would it be advisable to take a loan towards that? Or is it possible actually to say to the bank, okay, initially I had said, give me loan me this much, but now I have decreased my amount because now I want to include the transfer fees. I think let me at least ask this one question so that I also don't forget. Thank you.
I got you loud and clear, Meg. Thank you. I think the question was asked in the previous one that I forgot to touch as well. Okay. The banks currently do not give that allowance to include transfer and mostly the bond attorneys or bond registration fees into the price. Simply because they deem it as you cannot afford to buy a property then if you cannot afford to pay for the legal fees. It is not in terms of South African law, it is not a crime to do so. However, the banks themselves, within themselves, they've agreed and they've declared it as fraud when people do that. Now, people still do it and they close their mouths and they do whatever. I would advise against it, simply because of the repercussions that come with it thereafter, if you've done such. Now, the banks, however, are then willing to give you what they call, I'm trying to remember the right word, I think they call the percentage above application. So, but what they then do, they give you about 5 or 10% over what you're applying for. So you would say you're applying for 500,000 or that 1 million, then they would say, we approve you for 110%. Meaning they are saying, you can take the extra 10%. We are approving you for it. You then can use that amount to pay for the transfer fees. You can use that amount to pay off some debt. You can use that amount to buy a new vehicle. You can use that amount for whatever you wish to use it for. Now, what options then do you have if you do not have transfer fees? Let's start by saying, if you do not have transfer fees, the attorney that is doing the transfer, changing names from you to me, will not be able to continue to do that transfer because they need to be paid. So they will want their money or the transfer stops up until you have the money. We've seen situations where transactions will be delayed because the purchaser is running short of funds and they're still making a plan, which you've got a right to be given that opportunity to raise the money. But it's not an endless amount of time. You are given a certain period of time to make a plan. Should you take a personal loan or not? I would not generally recommend that you take a personal loan at that point in time, because what happens is some banks, remember, they did your affordability check before they approved you. So what happens is some banks, before the final stages of registration, now I'll just touch a little bit because I said I'm preparing you for the future. Registration process, when things are proper and okay and smooth and normal, it should take up to 12 weeks on average, which is 3 months. Now, there's many things that happen in that process. I've mentioned a couple. The transferring attorney must go submit your documents at SARS for transfer duty billing. They must submit at the local municipality to make sure that you as the seller, you are not leaving me with your debt, to apply for your current account on your rates and taxes and waters and everything, and to make sure that they get a certificate, you've paid everything, so that everything starts at zero. And. Now, in that then process of that is done in that period, then you can then be able to make other means if you know, because it's 3 months. So you've got 2 to 3 months to make a plan for these fees. Of course, some attorneys want their money up front. Now, what then other banks do, because it's 3 months before the last stage, which is the actual process of registering or changing ownership, it happens at deeds office. It only normally lasts 7 working days. When that process starts, they normally call that they are lodging the deeds at the deeds office. It's called lodgement. So some banks, because of the 3 months in between from the time they approved you and the time of lodgement, they then come back and they say, no, let's redo affordability check before we lodge and register the property into Yabella's names. Now, if Yabella had gone in that period to take a loan so that they can pay transfer fees or bought a car, then and they pick it up, then the transaction could possibly be cancelled right at the end of everything. And if it is cancelled because of your doing, you are possibly opening yourself up for lawsuits because the seller took out their property in the market. Now they've lost other buyers, so they might sue for damages. That all the attorneys have already worked, so you might have to pay for all their fees in full. Chances are you've already paid SARS if the property is over 1 million. The estate agents that were involved, they've done their work. You decided to do an activity that is working against what is being done. They might sue for their commission. So you might end up without a house, but with expenses to pay. So I generally recommend that from the time you are approved for a home loan, hold up on any new credit up until registration, unless that credit is provided by the same bank, which they have now decided to do. Instead of giving you a personal loan, then they say, no, we'll give you a credit card. Others, they do offer a personal loan when they know you are applying for money to pay for the transfer fees. Then they are able to work it out internally and it will not affect the process. So you do have different and many other options that you can do to do so. We can be able to advise and assist at YDT yet again. And Tiamo is going to laugh at me. I hope I answered you, May.
Thank you very much. Well answered.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. The time is now 13:38. So I wished to wrap this session up before we take any more extra time, because as you all know, we air from 12:30 until 1:30. And in the previous couple of weeks, we've been doing our best to even keep them to a shorter time. If you still have questions, please do get in contact with us through our email address. It's there in the comment section. You're welcome to communicate with us at any time. If you prefer to talk to us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, we are there as well. Just look for YDT Group SA and you will find us. Mr. Dlali, if you allow, sir, can we please wrap it up for today?
Yes, I would allow that to wrap it up based on the feedback that we must watch people's data. So I would rather wrap it up and invite everyone to next week. Next week is our last webinar. I will be doing a summary of the previous webinars, putting them together, getting ready to close this thing up. But remember, we are not leaving you alone. We are continuing, like I said, for those that joined in later, we will then make shorter videos that we'll be sharing on different platforms, including our website and YouTube channel, that you can be able to be updated with current affairs, but will not be able to be this live. Also, of course, every good thing does come to an end at some point. So this was the good thing that came to an end. For those that utilize this time to tune in, ask questions, learn, share with us, watch YouTube, big ups to you. For those that did not, I cannot promise, I do not know. I might never do this ever again. I had never planned to do it, but I knew that it was something I needed to do. It was basically, I'm a spiritual person. It was an instruction from God to share information with his people. So there you have it. Thank you for tuning in. Do tune in last week. I believe it's going to be lit. It's the last time that you'll be having an opportunity to ask me questions like this live. So thank you. And please do subscribe to every platform so that you do not miss out on the later information. But just because we're stopping now, it does not mean things are not going to continue happening. So when things continue to happen, we will keep you updated. And because we are stopping now again, it does not mean I will never open again. I do not know yet what is going to happen in the future. So all I know is that right now, this has come to an end, or it's coming to an end. But we're not leaving you alone. We will be there with you via videos. And thank you very much. Thank you. Over to you, Tiamo. I am done for the day.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. We have comments coming in from Lunga saying very informative webinar. Thank you so much for the invite. And we also have Smangele saying thank you very much. Well, everyone, it has been great. As I said, it has been 18 weeks, 1-8, of bringing you these amazing sessions. And I've personally learned so much, and we've been getting feedback from people also saying that they've learned a lot. So please continue to get in touch with us. Remember that our website is up, it's running, it's active. You can get us there as well, www.ydtgroup.co.za. We are available. We're also available on email, inquiries@ydtgroup.co.za. Also, we are there on the socials. We are on Instagram, we are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, we are everywhere. And get a hold of us, please. Also, as Mr. Tali just said, catch up with the previous sessions on our YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe. That is it from me. Ms. Meta is also saying thank you so much, Mr. Tali. And thank you so much to you and everyone who's been joining us consistently. Keep well, stay safe. God bless you.
Thank you. Bye.
Everyone.